excited to finally have on the show. We've been trying to get James on this podcast for many, many years because the Nerds of Color is essentially built just for him. You know him, he's the Tony-winning actor on stage and screen. He was in Aladdin, he was in Hamilton, and this starting this fall, he's back on Broadway.
Yes,
as King Arthur in Spamalot. Please welcome to the podcast America's favorite fighting Frenchman, always, James Monroe Iglehart.
Hello, how you doing, man? Good to meet you, sir. Thanks, Keith.
Well, welcome to the show. I told you right before we started, I'm kind of like trying to create an infinity gauntlet of former Hamilton stars. So I've had Lynn on the show, I've had Javi on the show. I'm glad to finally have you on the show. So.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Welcome. I mean, Hamilton is you know, we were just talking. We actually saw you on stage as Lafayette and Jefferson back in 2017, and you know, one of my favorite things that you ever did on, and you know, was on YouTube, is when you sang "Satisfied."
Oh gosh, that was a lot of fun. I remember how nervous I was about doing it, and walking up to Mandy, it was like, you know, how do I learn this as fast as possible? And she was like, well, there really is no easy way. You just got to do it, you know. And I asked her, could I steal some of her riffs? And then one of my other friends, Ginny Harney, who is now Angelica on Broadway, she was the swing. She had a riff that was really cool. I said, do you mind if I kind of like modify your riff and put it into Mandy's riff and make my own? And she was like, totally, go right ahead. And I was able to create this riff of my own. And then after I did it, I didn't think anything of it. And when it got really big, the girls came at me crazy. They were like, oh, so now everybody's calling you Angelica. I was like, look, I said, you better be nice to me. They're building a dress, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
What do you think? I mean, at some point, we got to get like a gender swapped.
You know, that right? people have been wanting that for a long time. Cynthia Erivo, she came out and said that she really wanted to play Burr, and that's when I think the conversation started about gender swapping Hamilton. So I don't know when it'll happen, but I'm pretty sure it'll happen in our lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. Anyway, but you know, we're not here to talk about Hamilton. We are here to talk about another Broadway show that you're doing. Before we get to Spamalot, I wanted to ask you, like I said, you know, Nerds of Color was built for you. You were one of the biggest nerds that I know of. I follow you on all social medias. We're not going to refer to that dumpster fire of a social media platform that most of us used to be on. But
I understand. Yeah, no. Lord.
But you know, you were one of the great follows at the time when I was on that platform. But anyway, knowing that you have a great affinity for all things nerd, like Star Wars and superheroes. But I was wondering, like, how big is your Monty Python fandom?
You know, it's funny. As far as me personally, I didn't get into Monty Python until I was in college. I remember I was bred and born on Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
So huge Mel Brooks fan. I know I love all his films. My favorite film of all time is still Blazing Saddles, and of course, in History of the World comes as a very close second. So when I got to college, you know, I was coming into there's always in theater, there's always these green room conversations that giant arguments that are actually mean nothing. And it's like, you know, it's like Lloyd Webber versus Sondheim or something like that. And I came in with Mel Brooks as the funniest person. Some kid came in, you don't know Monty Python? So I had to quickly like learn who Monty Python was. And I thought it was a dude, of course, because I had no idea. And then I ended up watching, you know, The Holy Grail, and was like, oh my gosh, this is really, really funny. So I've been a fan for years. Never in a million years thinking that I would get to play King Arthur on Broadway, because I remember being in the show Memphis, and I was in the show. I was in the show 25th Annual Putnam Spelling Bee. We were doing a reading for Memphis, trying to get it on Broadway. But a friend of mine was in Spamalot, and I said, I've never seen it. I don't have any money. And he was like, don't worry, I got it. I'm in the show. I'll get you a cheap ticket. He got me a cheap ticket, and I sat and watched and laughed and cackled my face off. And the funny thing was, it was great. But with the exception of one girl in the ensemble, there weren't that many people of color in the show.
Right.
And so didn't even cross my mind. So when they did it in Washington, D.C., and I got a call, and they were like, hey, they're thinking of you for King Arthur. I was like, are you kidding? And then I listened to it again, and I was like, yeah, I could totally do this. And I said, there's a way to do it, to make it fun and still stay within the Monty Python world, but also make it a person of color and enjoy yourself doing it. And I'm having a ball right now. It's so much fun.
I mean, and you know, going back to Hamilton, it wasn't the first show to do something like that, but I think it did pave the way, and it revolutionized the idea that you didn't have to like you could these Broadway because what you're saying was actually an indictment of Broadway for a very long time. There were not a lot of people of color in a lot of shows, and then those shows that had people of color was kind of like I mean, as an Asian American, Miss Saigon, I love the show, but come on,
Sure.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But Hamilton was one of that really broke through to be like people
Well,
of color can play any role,
to be honest, I always give Hamilton credit, but to be honest, the first one to really break that was Disney, and I know most people don't want to
Yeah,
give Disney credit, um, but Disney Theatrical was the one who was like, you know what, we don't have to, everything doesn't have to be the same,
yeah,
and but I think what
absolutely.
happened was because Disney is Disney. And people, when they go to Broadway, everybody's kind of snooty about Broadway. It's like, oh yes, I've gone to Broadway shows. I've seen this and that. Have you seen Lion King? That's for families and children. That's not real Broadway. And you're like, it's not real Broadway, really. Ask the actors. They're dying up there because they're
Right.
doing it's just so when Hamilton came out and it became a phenomenon, all of a sudden everybody went, look, diversity.
Yeah.
And so Hamilton got, which is, I mean, to their credit, got labeled as the show to create, the most diversity. But Disney kind of, was one of the first ones to really step into it. But Hamilton took it to a level that most people had never seen it. And
Absolutely right, and I didn't want
plus,
to imply that there was no
oh yeah,
diverse Broadway at all, right? Like, but I think what I was going for more like the idea that like a black man could play King Arthur,
yeah. I mean, it
like
was
black man playing George Washington, or a
yeah,
black man
it was one
playing
of those,
Thomas
those
Jefferson.
things where it's like, for some reason, it was always there on Broadway, but it was Hamilton that made people. Well, basically, what happened was Middle America knew what Hamilton was, and I no disrespect to Middle America, but if they don't see it on TV, they don't seem to
Right.
realize it exists. And so when they came and saw it or saw the tour, they were like, "Oh well, of course anyone could play anything," and we're all like, "Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we've been saying.
we've been saying this." So
Well, let's talk
that's all
about
we
your
talk about.
nerdy bona fides then, because
Yes,
in the stage door photo I showed you before we started recording, you're wearing your Han Solo T-shirt. I'm assuming
yes.
Star Wars is a
Oh
big
yeah.
big fandom of yours. What are some of the other fan
I
communities you
am,
belong to?
Star Wars, of course. I am a Star Trek Next Generation fan. I love the new Star Trek films as well. I am a huge fan of the original. My favorite of the original is not the television show. It is Star Trek Wrath of Khan. With Rakato Mataban. I love that. I can say all the lines from that movie. I'm a huge Goonies fan. I am a huge love Steven Spielberg.
Shout out to Ki Hui Kwan's
Oh,
resurgence,
straight up, I'd
right?
be coming in and just like taking the Oscar, like, like going away, and then coming back so strong. I mean, it was just like the brother never left. That's
Right,
how that's
right.
how dope he truly is. And I mean, I like everything from my comic books too. I'm a Disney nerd, so that's a thing. I am also a humongous professional wrestling fan. And
Nice.
it's not just the WWE. No, I am AEW. I am
AEW,
AAA. I am
New Japan.
New Japan Pro Wrestling. My God, Okada is just ridiculous, and I want to go to Japan so bad, to the Tokyo Dome, just to be there. I've been to 4 WrestleManias and I want to go to Wrestle Kingdom so bad. Because when I remember when I was a kid, I was in junior high school and a friend of mine named Colin Cornwall, shout out to Colin because we're all big wrestling fans. He told me that, have you seen WCW, in the land of the rising sun? And I was like, what is this? Ric Flair was going out to Japan to wrestle, and the Steiner brothers were going, and Sting was going, and that was the first time I had seen. Oh my God, I can't think of his name.
Takashi.
No, no, it was these are like 80s
Oh,
because he had
so this
joined.
was like Sting with the blonde hair and
This
the
is like Sting with the blonde hair,
the.
and I had got the video, but I was so shocked by the fact that Animal got hurt. So Hawk from the Legion of Doom was wrestling with another Japanese fellow, and I used to know his name. And watching that, and the first time I saw Jushin Thunder Liger, I thought I was going to lose my mind because I was like, there's actually a real Ultraman. Ultraman is real. He is about 5'5", but he's still real. And once I saw, Japanese wrestling, I was like, okay, this is a whole different thing. So from luchadors to Japanese wrestling to English, the way that English wrestlers like William Regal and those guys, I mean,
William
professional
Regal.
wrestling, I even went to a wrestling school for a hot second thinking I was going to join, and then my father talked me out of it. I'm glad he talked me out of it. Um,
Well, you can. I'm sure like you could do one of those guest spots on
well,
SmackDown or
I've
something. You know
become
what I
I've
mean?
become really good friends with Xavier Woods and Alexa
Well,
Bliss,
another
and
nerd of
yeah, yeah,
color. You know what
yes,
I mean?
right.
So
So we
New Day.
became he, those guys. They Kevin Owens. They all came to Broadway, and I started using Broadway as a way to make wrestling friends. So
That's
between
seems incongruous, but not
yeah, yeah,
really.
no, I mean, it just totally works out. Like they love it. To me, wrestling is the most amazing base of theater because with Broadway, you have all the accoutrement, you have the sets and the music and all the lines and everything. Wrestling is the most base form of theater because you have to tell a story physically.
Yeah,
You have to be
it's
good on the
dancing.
mic. It's dancing. You have to be good on the mic to bark to get people to come to your matches, and then but the match itself, you have to tell a story with the match, and these performers trust each other so much that they're able to hit each other for real and
Yeah.
sometimes hurt each other.
Wait, when they say wrestling's fake, I mean
No,
it's not fake because they are
it's not
really
fake.
throwing each other against
They're right.
the
They're
tables and chairs
yeah,
and
the tables, the chairs, the slaps, everything. You have to get in there snug to make it look real without killing your opponent. And the trust that they have, it's just oh, it's literally one of my favorite things ever. And what's funny is a lot of my friends when we were younger, once they found out wrestling was fake, or I should say, once they found out wrestling was predetermined,
scripted, right?
scripted, they didn't like it anymore.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
minute I found out it was predetermined, I loved it even more because I was like,
yeah.
you're trying to tell me that these guys, these women, these performers trust each other so much to tell this story to the audience, and they have to work it so well that the audience gets built up so much that they believe
They're
everything.
invested.
They're so invested. I was hooked, and I've been hooked since I was 10 years old.
I
I've
mean,
never.
honestly, it's why it's to your point around like the idea of it being scripted versus real and everything. When you're a kid, I mean, I think we're probably close in age. I remember, the original era of like, you know, Hulkamania and
Yeah.
then like Saturday Night Main Event and stuff.
Oh
That kind of
yes.
like I loved that growing up. But then but that's when I was a kid and I thought it was real. But
Right.
when I fell in love with wrestling, I wanted to ask you. I didn't realize we are going to be doing a wrestling podcast. This is great.
With it.
When I really like like my favorite era was like that WCW versus WWF
Yes.
era,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The Monday Night Wars. But what I loved though was like the theatricality of Dwayne Johnson. Like
Yes.
the
Yes.
fact that his wrestling moves were so ridiculous,
What I loved about it
but they
was
were so electrifying. It's like
what I
no
love
pun
about it
intended.
is like sometimes you do things just to make your friends laugh. And
Like, come on, the People's Elbow is
yeah,
the
the people's
worst
and
move ever,
the people's elbow, the
but
rumor
the
is the people's
best.
elbow was made to make Undertaker laugh. Could they break the Undertaker? And that's where that move came from. But the first time I started hearing about these ribs in the ring was the late great Owen Hart. They were
Mm.
wrestling at a house show. For those who don't know, there's the television shows like Raw and SmackDown, and those are the shows that are for the camera. And then there are house shows where they go to just an arena, no cameras, you could do what you want. And at the house shows, they don't have to wrestle like towards the camera; they can just wrestle. And Owen Hart was feeling it. He was on one day, and he was in a tag team, and he wanted to make people laugh. So he took out a tissue paper and he rolled it, and he started clotheslining the other guy with a tissue paper, and
And they
and it
sold
was
it, I'm sure.
right. They sold it, and the fact that the other guys had to like try to stay serious while he is literally using a piece of tissue paper to destroy someone. I was like, that's it. Because what made me laugh is that that's still what we do on Broadway. Like
Mhm.
I do things to Nick Walker just because it's fun. I try to break him if I can, or Taryn tries to break me. Or last night, there's a moment in our show where I won't say what happens, but someone's head falls off. That's all I'm going to say. And I saw it going towards the
Not the
pit.
flesh wound.
I saw it right. I saw it going towards the pit, and I was like, I can't let this head roll in the pit. So I dived for it like a freaking football. And the way the audience lost it, and I looked at my cast, and they were done. I mean, they were done. We were able to finish the show, but they were like, "We can't believe you dived for." I was like, "Well, I wanted to stop it, but I also was like, how can I stop it in the funniest way possible?" So I mean, when I saw that the wrestlers would do that, or like the Spinaroonie by amazing Booker T, there are some moves that look devastating.
I
Like,
have time.
the Stone Cold Stunner looks devastating. The Pile Driver looks devastating, and then you have the Cobra by by Santino Morelli. You're like, this is freaking ridiculous. Or I've met Mick Foley several times, and just listening to him talk about Mr. Sacco. I mean, that's the fun part about wrestling, because it's that moment of like,
The
that you can create such a big disbelief that you could do something so ridiculous and the audience is still like, yes, I'm invested, I'm in.
Yeah, the personas are what sells it, right? And the fact that Mick Foley is a great example, like the difference between Dude Love and Mankind,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
Mankind having like 3 or 4 different iterations, right? Like it's
yeah, and
so
the fun part is, I remember specifically, I was in Aladdin, and we were in Toronto, and we were doing. I've been watching wrestling, like I said, since I was 10 years old, and I love improv. So you put wrestling, improv, theater together. That's and Disney and comic books, and you've pretty much got James Monroe Iglehart. That's who I am. Um, so we're sitting down with some Disney execs, and I love them, by the way. I love Disney. I've been
oh
working
yeah,
with them
of
forever.
course.
But one of them comes up to me, okay, you can do an interview, and we're gonna put you with someone, and this is what we want you to say. And I was like, this is kind of no disrespect, but this is kind of kind of bland. James, listen, just say it and sell it. I said, okay, I know what I'm doing. Listen, if you just do it our way, I said, okay, how about this? First interview, because we had this press junket. I said, first interview, I'll do it your way. Second interview, let me do it my way. And they said, fine. Oh, okay, okay, James, just fine. And they got attitude with me. I was like, okay, cool. So I did it their way the first time. Hi, this is James Iglehart, and please come see Aladdin at this theater in Toronto, blah, blah. And they were like, yeah, that worked. And I was like, okay. They said, well, try it your way. I said, cool. So I was like, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain who I am. My name is James Monroe Iglehart, aka Genie in Disney's Aladdin, and I want to tell you something. You want to go to a show that's going to make your family happy? This is the show to see. By the way, it's not just for your family. Say, man, you want to get your girl? You want to get your girl happy? You want to be on a great date? Let me go. Listen. Once they see the carpet, I'm telling you, man, there's no telling where that girl might take you. I am telling you, this is for grandma. This is for dad. This is for the kids. It's for everybody. You're going to love this show. I'm telling you. And you get 3 wishes, and all those wishes are, I hope you have a fantastic time. And they were like, whoa, how did you? Where'd you learn that? And I looked him dead in the face and I said, professional wrestling.
You've made a promo.
I said, it's called a promo. I said, all you have to do is give me the talking points and I will sell your show. Because as a kid, I used to watch the bests on the mic, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, these guys, just watching, and one of the guys, one of the unsung heroes of being on the mic, Arn Anderson, the man who created the name The Four Horsemen. These guys were amazing to watch. Randy Macho Man Savage with
Oh
his
yeah.
cream of the crop,
Ooh
yeah,
yeah.
promo, or just not. Yeah,
That's
people
the
talk about,
beauty of YouTube, though, right? It's like for kids who weren't our age, they can go back and
they can
watch some
go
of these
back
like
and
wild
see,
promos.
or watch guys who realize. I learned that if you talk softly, people listen more.
Mm,
You can yell and scream and holler. But I watched Jake the Snake. And Jake the Snake Roberts
yeah.
wouldn't yell, and he would talk soft, and it would make the audience have to shut up and listen. And
He
he,
also had a giant ass boa constrictor in
well,
his
that
bag too.
too, that too, But it was something about him saying, Hogan, I've been watching you, and it made the people just go, and wrestling helped my career. If you see me on interviews, people go, wow, James is so quick, James, so this seems like it's because of pro wrestling. A lot of the things I learned was watching those performers, and I was like, I can take that and put that into Broadway. And so when you ask about my nerddom, I mean, I have so many. I mean, from Harry Potter to Ready Player One to music to movie musicals. But it's pro wrestling that has always
That's
been the thing that I've always come back to. It's never
that's
ever.
awesome. I mean, talk about learning something. I knew about all of your fans. I didn't realize you were a big wrestling guy.
Oh
So,
gosh,
but
yes,
now it
man.
makes. I mean, like I don't know how many people have ever drawn the parallels between Broadway and pro wrestling, but I mean it's there. And like talk about the greatest showmen are those people in the ring.
What's funny is I used The Rock and I used Apollo Creed to create um Thomas Jefferson in my Hamilton.
Mm,
So I went to see Hamilton originally. I was a part of it actually when Lynn first wrote it.
right.
I was a part of the original concert that he did at Lincoln Center, and I played Mulligan. Then I went on to do Aladdin, and when Tommy Kail called me back, he said, "Hey, we want you to play Jefferson." And I was like, "I don't know if I can play Jefferson." I said, "That's my boy David Diggs, and he made it, and
Mm,
it's his." So I called David, David with that cool voice. He's like, "Yo, man, you could totally do this. This is you, dude. You just do your thing." And I was like, "Cool, thank you." And I was like, "How do I get into this? How do I get, I read stuff on Thomas. How do I get into this?" And I realized they have two cabinet battles, and I looked at the cabinet battles and realized these cabinet battles, in my opinion, just from me, the way I saw it, was Rocky 1 and Rocky 2.
mm,
When Apollo Creed fights Rocky the first time, he takes him lightly. He comes in, he's showboating. He's got the American flag. It's a show to him.
right.
And when he gets close to losing, he can't believe it. So the next time he sees him, is as Apollo says, it's no shucking, no jiving, just business. And so I play it like that. I played it like that every time. And I remember Tommy said, "Dude, it's amazing how you do this switch from like being, this showman." And then at the end, I was like, "It's Apollo. It's Apollo to me." And every time I thought about that, I was like, when The Rock steps into someone and underestimates them, like when he wrestled Sugar Shane Helms, aka the Hurricane, he underestimated. And when he got close to losing, The Rock turned into The Rock, and I was like, that's how Jefferson has to be with Ham. And also, I'm a bigger guy, so I was like, Diggs is gorgeous, sexy. He is intimidating, but he's gorgeous and sexy. I'm like, I'm stocky. I'm cute, but I'm stocky. I'm a big dude. I said, I have size. So some of these Hamiltons really little. I'm like, oh, I'm totally using all of this.
Right, right,
So
right.
using Apollo Creed and The Rock is what created my character.
That's awesome. Wow. That is so cool. No, really, and I know we're getting close to our end time, and there's so many things I wanted to talk to you about, but this has been fascinating. Just the to dive into your like wrestling fan brain. I mean, I could talk to you for hours.
Oh yeah, we can go. But I know what we're here for. And let me just say this: the fun part about Spamalot is if you haven't seen the film
The
Monty
tables and
Python,
chairs. Is that the
yes,
tables, ladders, and chairs
that,
match?
that part of the show is great. And what's funny is the funny thing you say, we use a lot of tables, we use a lot of tables, and we use a lot of ladders, no chairs. But actually yes we do. We use chairs. We won't talk about that. You have to come see
Well,
it.
they had folding chairs back in King Arthur's day,
Well,
though. So,
we found trust me, we found a way to make a chair on stage, and it's really fun. Trust me, you just have to see it.
all right.
But I will say, the great thing about our show is that our show, especially for this time, there's so much craziness in the world. There's so much craziness when you look at the news or when you pick up your phone. It just seems like the things that we're looking at can't possibly be real. The things that people are going through can't possibly be real. And sometimes you just need a time to laugh. You just need a time to get away and just be entertained. That we're not trying to teach you anything. We're not trying to beat you up the head. We just want to show you a good night and a wonderful and just entertain you. And that's what Spamalot is. Spamalot is a fun night when you want to take your family and go and just laugh your head off. That's what our show is. We are just there to go, hey guys, forget the outside of this theater for a hot second and let us just take you away to this silly place and enjoy yourself. And the physical jokes are there for the kids, and the innuendos and jokes there for the adults. And for the tweens who go, oh my God, I get both of those. It's for everybody. It's for grandma. It's for you. It was not for little kids. I'd say you got to be about maybe 7, 8 to come to our show. I wouldn't bring you little kids, but 7, 8, you're like, okay, because there's some fart jokes for the 7, 8. They're like, ha ha, fart joke. So
Yeah,
hey, but I'm telling you, we have the best cast. We have Taron Killam from Saturday Night Live fame. We have Michael Urie, who is from everything from Shrinkage to Ugly Betty. Nick Walker and I from both Hamilton, Aladdin. Leslie Kritzer from Beetlejuice. We have Chris Fitzgerald, who was in everything from Young Frankenstein to he was just in Waitress. I mean, we have so many. We have Jimmy Smigula from like too many Broadway shows. We have so many people that are so good at what they do. Am I getting everybody? Like, yes, Michael Urie, Smiggle, yes, me, trust me, you're going to have, and also for those people who love Beetlejuice or people who love Hell of a Boss, it's on YouTube. Alex Brightman is coming in January. And also, just for you Monty Python fans, you want to see the Holy Grail. It's on stage. We're live. We're singing. We're dancing. We're having a great time. But just for you Broadway fans that just want to see we make fun of Broadway, but at the same time, we're celebrating what Broadway is. Broadway's a place to have amazing stories, amazing dancing, amazing singing, but at the same time, laugh your head off. That's what Spamalot is. Spamalot is just a good time. And I think our world needs that. Our country needs that. A lot of the shows coming into Broadway right now are very serious. No disrespect. I mean, they're good. They're great shows. But you kind of leave going, wow, I think I need a palate cleanser. Our show is that palate cleanser. Our show is that you come in, man, you're gonna have a great Keith, you come in, you're gonna have a great time with us, man. No joke.
You see how I let James cut that promo just now? That's if you smell no.
Right.
Well, James, good luck on stage on Spamalot. You are an amazing dude, and I wish you the best. Thank you for spending time with us here at the
Please, my pleasure, man.
Finally, and please come back so we can talk about your other fandoms, because
we can't, because I realized I went off on wrestling, but we can. There's others. We can.
I mean, I want to talk about DC versus Marvel. We can talk about Star Wars. You know what I mean? You started with the new Lois Lane and Ms. Maisel, so like,
I know, right?
How cool is that?
She is the sweetest person ever. I'm telling you, she's so good. Just watching her on that show, it was a masterclass, because she has so much to say, and it's all in her head, and she's so professional. She's going to be a fantastic Lois Lane.
I mean, Rachel Brosnahan. That it feels like Marvelous Miss Maisel was like the audition to play Lois Lane.
Honestly, it really seemed like it was. She's people aren't ready. People aren't ready for what she's about to do.
And now that the strike is over and they announced Superman Legacy is going to start production, man. Anyway, so I can go off. We need to come back. We need to.
You also need to get Eric Bauza up in here if you ever get a chance.
We've talked to him. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he and I we spoke, because I'm up in the same Emmy category as him, and I still go, I'm in the Emmy category with Bugs Bunny and
with Bugs Bunny himself.
Right, nuts. So, but thank you, man. I can talk to you forever.
Now, Jay, well, before we go, how can people find you online if you still want to find you online?
You can go on Instagram. I am JM Iglehart on James M Iglehart on Instagram. You can't miss me. So actually, no, sorry, JM Iglehart, because on the other dumpster fire I was James M. Iglehart. But JM Iglehart on Instagram is usually where you can find me. I'm still on Facebook because my mom's on that.
Well, that's all of our moms are. And which theater is Spamalot playing in?
Spamalot is at the St. James Theater in New York City. We are on 44th Street. You cannot miss us. You can walk past our theater and see our faces on the side of the building. Come down and watch us chase this grail for a little while and have a great time with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, James, for being on the show. We will find another time to bring you back, because we got a lot to talk about.
You got it.
Lectures, fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life. Comics, movies, and TV. Yeah. Pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this.